Moreover, they're exactly the same. The second part of it is that the Republican base seems to have a different element these days. It strikes us as that. What you have is a large number of people who the very language for discourse is taken away. In America, you can't say socialism. You can't say a welfare state. Right now, populism has been co-opted. And it's co-opted by the machinery of both parties, the big weft and the loom that weaves the weft and warp of what we perceive as a government and as politics. But like I say, and it's an illusion. Now these people, the poor whites or working class whites, 60 million people are in a white underclass. That's very difficult for people in New York and LA to understand. I won't go into an elaborate description. You can find it in the book or on my website or whatever. But working class America isn't doing that well. And the language to discuss their problem has been taken away from them. It's been demonized. And this has not happened just since George Bush. It's been going on since the 60s, particularly the 70s. But, you never grew up in an era, none of us ever grew up in an era where communism was an option to be even considered. Well, it's the de facto party of the world.
Right.
I think if you stop and think, there are more communists than any other political affiliation. I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying that, isn't that amazing?
Robert Anton Wilson once told me when I was interviewing him that the most depressing thing that he had ever read was a collection of Voltaire's letters where Voltaire was excitingly explaining to a friend of his that he thought Christianity would be finished in 20 years' time. Now, obviously, that hasn't happened in the last 200 years, and it's not going to happen in the next 20 either. But do you think that there's going to be a time when the type of people that we describe now as birthers or as teabaggers will wake up to the fact that they're actually doing the bidding of the corporations and the wealthy and acting against their own class interests? And can you see that constituency ever really turning its back on the Republican Party?
No, I don't see that happening any more readily than I see progressives and liberals waking up and realizing how irrelevant their thinking is. In other words, we all operate under a hallucination inside the goldfish bowl of America. If you go outside of it, you realize just how stuck we all are in this little drama that we think is very real. But you go outside of it, the world is different. The world doesn't care nearly as much as we think it does. And so we have this self-perpetuating hologram going on where everything is all vital and real and we're going to change this, maybe we'll change, maybe religion will die and all this. No, it won't. I personally think that it takes creative destruction, collapse or something for something new to start to replace it. Because by the engines of consciousness and awareness that we have going now, it's not even capable of generating an alternative. We'll get something we think is an alternative because something we simply haven't had before. Meanwhile, everybody in Europe since World War II has been able to for the most part, walk into a hospital, any hospital, and get their care, the care that they need or want.
You and I both grew up in families where we were beneficiaries of strong labor unions. And our fathers, and I presume at some point in your life you may have been a member of a union. I was, when I was a kid, I worked at a Kroger store, so I was a grocery store union member. But when I was a kid, my sister and I benefited from being able to have eyeglasses and good health care, and my sister had braces and all these kind of things that working class families have less of these days. And it seems to me odd that ordinary workers, the type who would benefit most from a unionized workplace, seem to be the most virulently anti-union. And I wonder if you can give some kind of insight into what would make a working man anti-union.
Well, there were a couple different experiences after World War II going on in this country. Now, my father was a member of a union for 2 years. He was a truck driver, and it was the best 2 years of our life. Otherwise, we were miserably poor. We live in the South, guaranteed to be ignorant, no educational opportunities.